Welcome to Love Where You Live, Boulder County, a podcast where we have conversations about how awesome it is to live in Boulder and the Boulder area. Today I'm with a friend that I've known for approximately 20 years, but I don't know him really well. I'm super excited actually to get to know him today with all of you. And by way of introduction, I'll say this. I think has been in the Boulder area for a couple decades is my guess. We're going to find out, verify. But this man, he'd probably be introduced by a number of accolades, a number of amazing accomplishments. But what I'm going to say about my friend here today is that he is a guy that from the outset is just going to be known as, to me, a true people person. Like, this guy loves people. He makes people feel incredible. And I think that the mark of a great person, individual, is that when you leave their company, you feel better from having run into him. And that is, without a doubt, Bobby Stuckey. So Bobby, with that, welcome to the show. And thank you so much for being here.
Michael, thank you. And thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm psyched. And so I'll say a little bit of background and I'll give you my intro and then you can verify and correct. But from what I understand, by way of California, I think you moved here from Arizona. So Arizona, California, Colorado.
Yeah.
And maybe 2003, 2004 in the early 2000s. And you're here. You've got some incredible accomplishments. You have Frasca Food and Wine is your maybe flagship in my mind. You've got Pizzeria Alberico.
Oh my God, you got it.
Thank you. Lucky. You've got Sunday Vinyl. You've got Tavernetta. Thank you very much. That's a hard one for me. And then you've got, like, you're a master sommelier. There's not that many in the country, I don't think. And then also you're a runner. We relate on that. Like, you've run a 2:45 marathon. If my research is correct, you're just an all around guy. Does that sort of sum it up for you, Bobby? Is that you in a snapshot?
Yeah. I mean, yes, timeline's pretty right on. I moved here for my second time in Colorado. I moved to Boulder at the end of 2003 from Napa Valley.
Okay.
And I had lived in Colorado. I had been the wine director at the Little Nell in the mid-90s. And then I left to go work for the chef, restaurateur, Thomas Keller at the French Laundry. And I had a path in my life. I could have either stayed working for Thomas forever. That would have been great. I mean, I can honestly say this. He's a mentor. He's a former employer. He's a friend. It was a very special moment working for him, and that moment could have gone on for the rest of my career. But we made a decision, my wife and I and my business partner, Lachlan, to leave the French Laundry. Actually, the year it had been voted #1 restaurant in the world for the second time, we left to move to Boulder to open Frasca, our first restaurant. So we moved here at the end of 2003. This year is 20 years of Frasca. So we just feel so lucky to be in the Boulder community doing what we do on that corner of 18th and Pearl. And then we're very lucky to be able to open 2 restaurants in Denver. Like last night I worked in Denver at Tavernetta and Sunday Vinyl. Tonight I'm at Frasca. Tomorrow night I'm back at Tavernetta. Saturday I'll be back at Frasca. So my team sends me where I need to go, and that's how it works.
That's it. It's so fun. Well, here's what, and I jumped over that. I mean, these are in the world of in the restaurant world, in the world of fine wine. These are big names. I mean, Little Nell we've heard of that. Most people actually, I think, have heard of French Laundry, even if you don't know fine dining, and you were there and you chose to walk away. A little bit about that and why Boulder?
Well, as I said, I could have stayed working for Thomas forever. It was really, I wish Thomas would write a CEO book. He should. I tell him that all the time, and he's like, Bobby, I'm busy. I'm like, yeah, I know you're busy. Your golf game's amazing, but you definitely need to write a CEO book, because he had created an organization that we all knew why we were there. And that's really hard to do, where everyone from the dishwasher up to the chef de cuisine, we knew why we were working for Thomas, and it was really special. And at that time period, my wife, Danette, her mom had passed away, and her father, Dick Alberico, who our pizzeria is named after, was living in Golden. And I knew I loved Colorado because I'd lived here before. And I thought, Danette, if I'm ever going to do my own restaurant, we probably should do it now. And we should probably do it back in Colorado so we're close to your dad. And we chose Boulder because as an endurance person who loves endurance athletics. I like running, riding my bike, whatever happens. I knew Boulder was a great community, and I also knew it was like the perfect distance from my father-in-law to be a great son-in-law. Like Golden
Well
to
said.
Boulder is like perfect, and it's been really, really fortunate, and we just love being here, and it's great.
Okay. All right. Yes. So I'm gonna hit the rewind button for just a second. You mentioned Danette, and you guys made these moves together. But let's just flash back. Where in Arizona did you grow up, and just a little bit about like how did you get into endurance sports? You're in Arizona. Which part? What's the story there? Young, early days for Bobby.
Yeah. So, long story is I grew up in Phoenix, and my parents are a little bit, and I say this in a positive way, they had two boys.
Okay.
Me and my brother were born on the same day, 2 years apart.
No way.
We could not be more polar opposite. My brother, an incredible academic. He's now a screenwriter. He's worked for the director, Jay Roach, for 24 years. Me, not so much. And I was ADD and dyslexic, and my mom and dad didn't know what to do with me. And true story, we had this weird PE coach that would make us run a mile 3 days a week.
Okay.
And this is like in 1976, 1977. We're
Okay.
like first or second grade.
Okay.
And my mom's like, God, every time he runs a mile, he's able to kind of focus. 'Cause I
Awesome.
was like ADD and dyslexia.
Yeah.
So my dad said, well, if a mile works, let's see what happens if we throw him in a 10K. And I was in like second grade, and he took me to the Papago Park 10K.
Okay.
And he's like, hey, you go do this. And I did it. And I liked it. And I remember I was so tiny. I was 7 years old. I had this like t-shirt that went down to my knees. And I was like, oh, okay, I like this. So my parents got me into running. And then they got into it. My brother got into it. And I just loved running. And my brother and I ran high school cross country. And I got injured maybe junior year in high school. And I had to swim a little bit. And this is the late 80s. So
Yes.
I did some triathlon. So like
Yes.
I did triathlon. Like that was the old Bud Light USTS series.
Yes, sir.
My dad thought it was a great thing for me to do because he's like, hey, I love going to USTS San Diego, and you guys are done at like 8 a.m. There's a beer tent. This is awesome.
The good
Keep
old
doing
days.
this, Bobby.
Yes.
And then that's how I got into cycling, and I raced bicycles in the mid 90s. So that's how I got into those sports. At the same time, in high school, my mom and dad didn't really know what to do with me. I was a really challenged student. They said, okay, well, we got him running. Let's get him a job. And they got me a job bussing tables in 1983, August of 83. And the weird thing is I'm still bussing tables. And 40 some years later, I'm still doing that task.
tables.
I'm
Yep.
still bussing tables. I will tonight. And I don't think my parents knew it. They were just trying to contain the wild animal they had. And I found my people.
Yes.
And I was a kid who did not do well in school.
Okay.
And I was working in restaurants, and for whatever reason, that kinetic energy was really good for me.
Amazing.
And it was the first time I was getting like pats on the back outside of your family circle in a non-family, like as a teenager.
Yes.
I was getting these like I didn't get those in school. I got the exact opposite. And here I am able to be a contributor. I could contribute to the dining room floor that night, to the staff and all that. And then I just realized, these are my people. I've got to be a restaurant person.
Amazing. At 16, we're thinking, or ish?
Yeah.
16.
Yeah, I started at 14, but I was like literally, I remember like after a Mother's Day brunch going over to my grandparents' house, and my granddad's like, you really like this? And I said, yes, I do. He's like, well, just be the best bus person you can be.
Yes.
And still working at that craft.
What? Yeah. No. You know what? What a gift to find your calling at an early age and then grow into it. I mean, I think that's a classic example of you had a knack for it, but you leaned into it, and you were the best. So, you're Arizona teenager, out of high school, stay in Arizona, move. Where'd you go
I
from
went
there?
to Northern Arizona University.
Gotcha. Yep.
I'm a lumberjack.
There you go.
That's the school in Flagstaff. And
Same as Nell Rojas. You know
Yes,
Nell.
you bet.
I'm going to write her name down because
She's awesome.
we just recommended her.
I always
you
tell
and
her,
me.
go lumberjacks, to her
Lumberjacks. Yes.
every Wednesday morning when I see her at the track.
I love Nell.
She's the best.
Yes.
She's great. Yeah, she and I are both lumberjacks. So I went to NAU.
Okay.
I
Did you run?
I ran the whole time I was there. I wasn't good enough to run for NAU. That was like it is now.
Yeah.
It was a dynasty program in the late 80s too.
Mm-hmm.
But I did triathlons and raced bicycles and just loved Flagstaff. It was great.
What was your level of? I mean, did you get? Because I knew you were triathlete. How far did you take it? Were you pretty serious? Did you want to?
I did like the USTS races, like at the, I'd go to nationals and things like that, and then I got into racing bicycles, and I run more than I ride my bike, but I'm probably more natural as a cyclist. I just don't have as much time. Like I got in 1993 at national championships, I was third in the TTT.
Nice. Yeah.
So
solid.
I was good enough to get a pro contract with Shackley, but not like I was like not one of the great guys on Shackley, but I knew how to do my job.
For sure. Amazing. Yeah. Shackley, that's a good blast from the past.
Yeah. A lot of time with Kent Bostick.
There you go.
Peter Steubenrock, Jamie
on.
Carney, all those guys.
All the peeps. Oh my gosh, that's good stuff. Yeah, and I actually remember shaking up the Shackley.
Oh yeah.
The drink itself. It's kind of that was
exactly
some early days nutrition. So all right, so then you're NAU. Let's just say, what was your first? Well, let me do this. I'm going to tell people my first exposure to you. And this is something that, again, I want to bring it to you in Colorado and tie it together. And I was a starving pro triathlete, starting to make it. Amanda and I had moved here, and it's not about me, but we're there. And we moved to Boulder, and we scraped some pennies together and went to the Flagstaff House. Because everyone says the best race in town, you got to Flagstaff House. So maybe 2002, we're at the Flagstaff House.
Uh-huh.
And, we're like, this is a lot of money. But I didn't really enjoy it that much. I like the views, and I'm not slighting them. These are your people, you probably know them. In any case, a year later, somewhere in the 2003, we hear there's a restaurant coming, and they're already booked out 6 months. Is this about right? Like this was what we hear. You correct me in a sec. So there's this awesome new restaurant coming to Boulder, 2003, 2004. I've now won a race. I've got a little bit of cash, very little. And I'm like, I'm gonna treat my bride. And they're like, no. 6-month waiting list. They're not even open yet. And then it's on. And so then I'm like, well, I have to impress my gal, like we got to do this. And she and I are, in it. So we're like, well, we have to commit. We got to put our names in there. We put our names in. We finally get this, we get the reservation and we show up. And I feel like, my memory is we get in and it's like amazing. We've never experienced anything like this. Where if you haven't been to Frosco, folks, do yourself a favor. Everyone that comes on the show mentions the restaurant. A true experience. Like, you're there for a few hours. You're just enjoying great food and great people, great company. And you come out and it's like, here comes this guy that's bussing our table. And I'm like, that's cool. Like, hey, what's up? I used to bus tables too. And, how are you? And then you make a point to like, get to know us. What's your name? You leave. And then 3 months later, hey, Mike, say hi to Amanda. I'm like, that's the busser. And then we found out you were the owner, right? You didn't introduce yourself as the owner. But I guess my slow story is you made a very big impression on me almost 20 years ago, remembered us, made a point to keep track of us, related to us for, just for the sake of, hey, just being a good guy. And you just were there. You're bussing tables, doing your thing. I mean, that's my story. So introduction, that's you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful and really touching. You look, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
Frosca is our home and you're in it. And so I have 4 restaurants now, but I am in my restaurants nightly. And I want, hospitality is something we need so much in this world. And I think about hospitality all the time because that is a way for us to not think about ourselves, but to think about the person in front of us that we're taking care of. And I really meditate on this thought of how the world can be a better place through hospitality. And it's something that's really important to me. So to hear that you had a positive effect from it, it really warms my heart because that's really what I try to think about. And we are an organization that is built not just because of me, but the whole team should be contributing and doing every task. And that is really important to our company. And it's funny, right before I got here, I was talking to Peter, one of my business partners, and we're like, are we making sure that everybody, now that we have 207 employees, do they all understand that we all need to be doing this part, and no part is not, you're not above a certain part. We've all contributed. We were just talking about this like 45 minutes ago.
That's great.
Because it's to make sure you get everyone to understand that.
I think you're doing it. I can say again, this is an old memory, and we Man and I will remark on this time and time again. Where anytime we go there and we note, you lead by example. You show you're the owner, your business partner, and you're bussing tables, and you're showing that. But also, you make it very clear that hospitality is the name of the game. That's your goal. Make us feel welcome and remembered and important. And I do agree with you. Our world needs more of that. So good. That's a good share. I think that's great.
Thank you.
So, okay, let's do this. So I want to now, as we come to that was my first experience with you, early days, Frasca. I've been back several times since, still an amazing experience. From your standpoint, you decided to move to Boulder, and you'd been in Colorado, okay, but when you come here, what's it like? What's your first impression of being a Boulder or Boulder County resident? Here I am in the mix.
I remember the day I moved here. So I knew of Boulder. I had been here before.
Sure.
We'd been coming out here looking for restaurant spaces. We found our place to live, and I was unloading the U-Haul, and I wanted to go for a run. And I parked up at Chautauqua, and I'm looking at the map at Chautauqua, and this guy, young guy, he's probably a couple years younger than me, is like, "Hey, do you know where you're going?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "I don't, but I think I want to run like this, like somewhere up here." He's like, "Oh, I'm going to run Green Mountain. You can go with me."
Nice.
It's literally my first afternoon in town. And I'm running with this guy, and he's like, "Yeah, I just got back from the 50K National Trail Championships. I'm moving to San Diego tomorrow." I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad I got to meet you."
Yeah.
Running with him is Brian Dayton, the owner of Oak and Carita.
You're kidding.
True story. He and I meet on this run, and he tells the story that I had my heart rate monitor on, and I must have had the heart rate set wrong because I was getting dropped so hard he could hear me like 5 steps back. My heart rate beeping. But he moved to San Diego for a year, so he left at the end of 2003, came back 2004, and we had opened. And he shows up and he's like, "Hey, I'm the guy who you met running. I want to come work for you."
Oh my gosh.
And he came to work for us at Frasca.
Wow.
And we've been friends ever since. He worked with us on the Frasca team, and then he opened Oak and then Carita.
Wow.
And we still run together, and it's
fantastic.
That's my first day in Boulder.
That's incredible. I love that stuff. That's that's not a coincidence. That's the universe, or that's, higher powers working, conspiring. So good. And your first run was Green Mountain.
Yeah. And I was just like getting crushed, and it was like, but it's so amazing that like from that day in the parking lot, Brian and I are like still
fantastic
friends. And we probably don't run every week, but definitely every couple of weeks.
That's really cool. That is very cool. And he left, came back. You're here. Wow. So resident in Boulder, first couple of years, starting a business, not too close, but close enough to your father-in-law. Are you loving it? Is it hard work? Do you regret? Is it like, man, Boulder's tough? I mean, that's a wonderful intro, but
I think our industry, the restaurant industry, is just, it doesn't matter if you're in Boulder, New York, San Francisco, Paris, Milan. It's a tough business.
Yeah.
That's just a fact. I'm not complaining. I love my industry more than anything. Look, it has a set of difficulties that other industries don't have. That's just a fact of life.
Sure.
So it doesn't really matter where I live.
Gotcha.
I think I'm better at tackling those tasks in Boulder than if I was in a different community.
Why is that?
Because I can be me.
Okay.
I can go out for a run out at the res or whatever, and doing what I need to do to fill my cup to be good at bussing tables and leading my teams, I can execute that a lot better than if I had a restaurant in the West Village in Manhattan.
Good for you. Yeah, you know that. I love that. And someone on the show once said it, like, people come here for that elite, high level, like you, in what you do, come here because they have that outlet. They have those trails, that lifestyle. So you felt like Boulder helped, complement, the grind or help you deal with the grind of getting going.
Yeah. I lived in Napa Valley, which is incredibly beautiful. It doesn't hit the same.
Okay.
I love Napa. I love
Sure.
going there. But living there, it didn't stoke me the same way as if I have enough time, I get to go run Magnolia Road.
Yeah.
There's none of that in
No.
NorCal.
That's
it's
special.
just like, and I can do that and show up. Maybe I'm a little slower than my team that night at work at Frosca. If I do that on a Saturday, it might make for a long Saturday night, but it's still so energizing for me. I can do my job better.
I love that. Yeah, that is good. And that's good advice, again, for folks taking notes. People often say, well, don't you get tired? It energizes you. So the exercise gives you that step and that oomph. So, okay, this is kind of an off the bat question, but was it hard to become a master sommelier? What on earth? I mean, come on.
Well, I look at it as like, it was a great way to get out of a lot of yard work from my wife. Because I had to
Tell me
say,
more.
I was like, Danette, I can't do yard work today. I have to study for this exam. And that worked until I passed. And then she's like, okay, that was a big decoy. You're horrible at yard work. So what is going on?
I'm on to you now.
But, it's
First,
hard to say.
Real quick, tell everyone what that means.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was number 61 in North America when I passed 20 some years ago. And what it is so my job, yes, I bus tables, but my other job is being a wine steward or a sommelier. And there's different levels. And I remember in 1993, I was waiting tables in Flagstaff, and the guy I was working for, this is before there was internet or websites, he got a brochure for this quartermaster sommelier, and it was sitting on his desk, and I was like, because we didn't really have a path then. That's why I had to leave Arizona and move to the Little Nell. We didn't have these curated positions. And I saw this, and I think it was held 4 times in the year throughout the country. I think it was like New York, Atlanta, San Francisco, and somewhere else. And I said, well, I want to do this. He's like, well, you've been studying really hard. If you want to do that, go do it. And me and another guy I was waiting tables with, we studied all year and went and took the intro level.
Okay.
So the quartermaster sommeliers, you have the intro. They call that level 1. The certified, which is like, the intro is pretty much get your ankles wet. Certified, maybe you're up to your calves. You have to open a bottle of sparkling wine, blind taste a couple wines, and have a theory exam. And so that's the first 2 levels. And then the next level, the advanced, is really, you're in the deep water.
Gotcha.
It's like you go, nowadays they do theory on its own, and then they go later in the year and do service and tasting, and they've got to get all those 3 parts to go to the next level. And I really think once people have passed the advanced, they're in it. They've really changed themselves.
Gotcha.
As a sommelier. I really believe that when I see people pass that, it really they evolve.
Yeah.
And then maybe not everyone, the masters is their thing, but the master's level, it happens once a year, and you take your theory. So you've got a set of questions. You got to get a certain proficiency there. And then you go on to tasting and service. Service is kind of like that theory, but on your feet. Like you're in a mock dining room and they're lobbing questions at you and you're role playing it. But it's kind of like theory on your feet. And then blind tasting is 6 wines and you have like 24, 25 minutes to get through and assess those 6 wines.
Dang.
And you got to be, you could probably shag one of them and still pass. Maybe if you ace the 4, you could miss 2, but you got to be you got to have your jump shot down that day. Wow. And, it was a long journey probably a decade door to door. But I think about, and I did an Instagram post about this, I don't think about passing the MS as Bobby is a master sommelier. I've never worn my pin. They give you a pin. I've never worn it on the dining room floor. It sits in my sock drawer. I look at that as a path that I really enjoyed doing. And it was for myself, not for the pin.
That's great. That's great. Well, all the best things, I think, come that way. You know, the motivation, where you come, where you learn, that's cool. It's a completely foreign to me. And I think a lot, thank you for sharing that, because it's so cool to get a little peek behind the curtain of what it was like to get to that level. And you use that daily. So now here we are. You're living in Boulder. Let's talk about kind of current life. You said it a little bit already. You go to Denver, you're here, you work nights. What's kind of a typical day in Boulder? You guys live in Boulder proper? You guys are, so.
Yeah, we we're in the middle of a remodel right now, so we're staying up at Wonderland Lake, but we live at like North Boulder, 19th and Calmia. And my typical day, look, this might sound, if you're not in the restaurant business, you're gonna be like, wow, that's a lot of hours. Yes, our industry is a lot of hours. That's just part of it. But there's a lot of other great things about our industry. But like today, I got to work at around 10:30.
Okay.
And I'm gonna go home and change at 2:30 and put a sport coat on for tonight. But we have to run our business, and then there's service.
Sure.
So service is usually, I try to clean my to-do list of meetings so I can be, if tonight I'm at Frosca, I want to be in pre-service with the team. Yeah. They sit down for family meal at 3:45. We go into a pre-service. We kind of go into our notes for the day. Then we go into service, and I won't close the restaurant, meaning like lock the front door, but I'll be there through what we call LMO, last meet out.
Okay.
And then that's what I would do at Frosca or Pizzeria. If I'm down in Denver, maybe I stay until last reservation seated at Tavernetta.
Understood.
It's not as long of a menu at Tavernetta. So if I get to see everyone seated the night that I'm there, that works out pretty well.
Perfect.
And then drive home so I have a part of my day, I'm the restaurant business person, and then part of my day is service. So because you have both those parts, it can be a little bit of a lot of hours.
Long day. Mm-hmm.
But I'm not complaining. That's just part of our industry.
That's you. And you're early morning exercise, is that your jam?
Yeah, it has to be.
Has to be. There's no other time.
There's no other time. So I am a little weird that way. Like you always hear of restaurant people that take hours to unwind at night. And that could, you've heard or seen, sure. You've read Kitchen Confidential. Some of the people might have some extracurricular activities late at night. That, look, that's what people like to write. Look,
because it captivates our imagination. Yeah,
that's not my world. I go home, I shower, I listen to some music or read for a moment, and I'm like in bed, recharging, sleeping, and then I'll get up. And look, I don't run early like Boulder people, but for a restaurant person, pretty early.
It's early. Yeah. It's your morning start. Okay. So you're a North Boulder person. Let's talk about some stuff, because this will be fun to hear. And you can be completely honest. You can be direct here. We're talking like, what if you're out for a cup of coffee, where are you going? You do that at home, or you have a place you want to?
I usually in the morning, I have coffee at home.
Yep. But
let's say I get home from a run. My wife is not a morning person.
Okay.
Danette's
sleeping.
Is no way. That's why we're together.
Yeah.
Because I get home from work and she'll be getting off her treadmill.
Yeah. She's okay.
When I'm getting off work from dinner service, I'll be like, hi, honey. She's like, don't bother me. I'm in my last 10 minutes of the treadmill.
Wow.
So she's a total night owl.
Okay.
So I'll get done and maybe we'll walk. We just lost Logan's up on, that's where we used to walk to.
Right.
Go see Logan, get coffee there. We love going there. The new place opened up there. Yeah, we've gone in there. And then if we're down at work, and if I'm down at work, I might walk down to Boxcar.
Yeah. Okay, Pearl, kind of across the street, a little ways down. So, yeah, Logan's shame. I mean, let's talk about this then. Where are you going out for your, okay, you're not talking fancy. What's a restaurant that I need to go to if I haven't been, or someone that's coming to town, hot spot, maybe pop in for a brunch or a lunch or an easy dinner?
Yeah. I love if I have a Sunday night with my wife and it's summer, I love sitting at the bar at Carita and getting, just because you're up there, you can see the mountains, having a cocktail there and having some apps.
Yeah.
I love his other restaurant in North Boulder, Belota, the Mexican restaurant. That's really fun. Had a very inspirational couple glasses of tequila with my brother there during the holidays. My brother and I were like, Danette's like, I'm going to let you two go have dinner by yourselves. And we came back and she's like, what happened?
Yes.
There's like a
what
lot of
went
emotion.
down?
Yeah.
A lot of emotion. Brothers having tequila.
Oh my God.
That's good stuff.
I love going there. The great thing about Boulder is there's so much good places to go eat, drink, and that's what makes this place special. There's not a lot of cities that are 30 miles from a major city that are our size that have this vibrancy.
When I first, in 2001, Bobby, I'm not kidding you, we were like, there's nothing in this town. There wasn't a lot. And we're like, what, New Year's Eve, you have to go to Denver? And I felt like even at that point, but 100% to your point, it is amazing now. There are awesome options. And I think a lot of that transitioned in those mid 2000s. There weren't, Carita, and those places you listed didn't exist. It was like, maybe we had Mateo, but there wasn't a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So
where did you move here from?
No, this is not where you asked me questions. Oh. Just kidding. I moved here from Austin. Yeah. So I was in a good spot where there was good food, but pre-Austin boom as well. Austin hit it. I left there in 2001. And so we had good food. We had good tacos.
Yeah.
And to that point, are you a taco guy?
Oh, yeah.
What's your favorite taco place in the county? It could be in the county. Have you found a place that?
Okay, you know what I love going? It's right outside the county because it's in Denver. But you gotta go.
Okay.
It's Tacos de Mexico on Santa Fe.
Okay, I'm writing that down.
It is.
How could you forget that?
Super legit.
Okay.
It's the ladies, the abuelas that are grandmothers that are making the tacos in the back are standing on these wood crates.
Yeah.
And my whole executive team at Frosca all know about it. Because if we have a meeting with Simple Brown, our designer, if we're doing a new restaurant, I'm like, did we book enough time to go to Tacos de Mexico?
Great. I love a new tip, and I'll drive there on Santa Fe. We sort of an authentic little spot, one that I'll recommend to you. I don't usually do this, but you should check out in Lafayette, Tacos Ay Ay Ay.
Okay.
It's right there on South Boulder Road. Look them up. They do hole in the wall, but if you like kind of an authentic joints.
I'm all about it.
Slip in there and tell me what you think. Okay. And then as we talk, it's fun, but I want to say, you mentioned a couple trails already. You mentioned some of your runs and your spots, but if you're coming here and saying, I've got to present to someone where I take them if they come visit, or just what I love to do, your favorite go-to running or hiking trail?
Depends on the time of year.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is you think about how much snow we got last Thursday.
Yeah.
But still, Saturday, you could run the dirt road, farm roads north of the Boulder Res. And if you had someone from out of town, they would be like, how is this possible?
Yeah.
After a foot of snow.
That's right.
So in the winter, I love showing people that because it's and then, I think, look, I love Magnolia Road. I love running around near Chautauqua, love running up the backside of Poor Man, things like that.
Yeah. Okay. Those are all good tips. And I enjoy that, especially because I don't think we've heard Magnolia mentioned. It's a good spot. If you're here in town, you know it. Check it out. Great. Again, a dirt road, but it's no ordinary dirt road.
Yeah.
So, okay. And then if you were going to do this, I love this kind of idea, is share with us, you and Danette, it's a Saturday or Sunday, or maybe you don't work that night. What's a perfect Boulder County day, more or less for you guys? How would you pass the day?
Great. Well, maybe if I get a little run in while she's sleeping, we go for a long walk together.
Okay.
Get some coffee. We love going on a Sunday afternoon, going to see Will Paradise's store, Paradise Records.
Yes.
And my wife and I are avid vinyl collectors. Look, sometimes we get in trouble there because she'll be at one end of the room and I'll be at the other. And she's like, look what I got. And I'm like, whoa, look what I got.
Yeah.
She's like, whoa. And that's a lot of vinyl.
That's a lot.
And then do that. And then, maybe have a bottle of wine, and listen to that vinyl that night together. And
That's so
if it's
good.
summertime, sitting in the back patio, it's great.
So good. Perfect. Someone else mentioned Will Paradise, said, you got to have this guy on. He's an interesting character.
Oh my God, he's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's an amazing human.
That's great. Yeah, I've only heard that, and so I enjoy that. What a perfect day. So you know what, in my mind, and I said this before, like kind of the cool thing is that you're really relatable. So and I mean, I honestly feel like you'll talk to anyone, you'll make anyone feel special, give them the time, your time, which is our most precious gift. So imagine this for a second. Someone comes up to you, hey, I just moved to Boulder. I'm struggling, or I'm just too new. I didn't meet the guy for the trail run. I didn't meet Brian up on Chautauqua. What would be a tip, one or two tips that you're going to just share, help someone find their form, find their way in Boulder?
Yeah, like if they're a runner or anything.
It could be anything. It could be, in the food and beverage. It could be, restaurant.
I think
runner.
I think the thing about Boulder is it's a really inclusive community.
Okay.
If you're a runner, there's so many different running groups. I mean, you go out on a Saturday, there's so many. You got the ambassador of fun, Brian Schroy, like telling people to
I love
go.
that guy.
I love him. He's
Yeah.
so positive. There's so much positivity here.
Yeah.
My wife does a lot with the Dairy Center.
Okay.
Like there's a lot of great, like very approachable art, things like that. There's just so much great things that we can do. It doesn't always have to be endurance athletes. There's so much great stuff. Restaurant wise, they can just walk down Pearl Street, jump in 3 places, and have a course at each place and find their people.
Find their people. Okay, so that's it. And that's a common thread. I mean, find your people, find your tribe, because I think if you're into it, guaranteed someone in Boulder's into it in a pretty good way. So that's a great tip, Bobby. And I guess anything that I've overlooked, because I think I had a whole host of questions I may have overlooked, but it's been a fun conversation. Anything that I left off you want to add to our conversation?
I just, thanks for having me, and I hope everyone listening just realizes how special our community is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the jam here, Boulder County. It's a special area. And for those of you guys that didn't pick up, he's got, if you want pizza to die for, you guys are on Pearl Street right there, Alberico, and then next door, or pretty much next door.
Yeah.
Tide.
Next
Same.
door.
Frosco, which is an amazing experience. So check him out. Follow him. Also follow Bobby Stuckey on Strava and Instagram, because that's, for me, like, we connect there. I at least connect. I watch. I get inspired. I was telling him before we started. I like to watch his runs. He's out with a lot of fun community guys and does some cool stuff. So Bobby, thank you so much for being here. It's been a treat.
Thank you so much.
Well, folks, I appreciate you guys listening in again. And before our next episode, as I always do, I encourage you to go do something that you love.